I think our initial pitch to DAP was that this was part community service. So how could a corporation, a local corporation in the Baltimore business community, help two of our biggest schools, Micah and Hopkins, create a future leader in design and business education? And I think they felt very strongly about that responsibility in the community. But I think they also saw an opportunity to address some significant issues within their company that they could not get their arms around. They either didn't have the resources or the time, or they just weren't able to see it from the perspective of a Generation X and Generation Y customer, which was by and large the issue that they were dealing with. So I think they really embraced the opportunity for us to work with them. I think they loved the idea that it was a partnership, that it wasn't about us bringing students to them or them telling us how they do their business. It wasn't a case study kind of environment, but rather a true partnership of discovery. And I think that they really enjoyed that. So I think they thought from the beginning that this was good for everybody from an altruistic point of view, from a community point of view, educational point of view, and selfishly would be good for their business ultimately.
Of the what?
Two Hopkins students. What are their names?
Brent, Cynthia.
Haven't seen her.
The interaction between and among the students was one of the most fascinating parts of teaching this course, and the most rewarding, because the students began to learn that they needed, especially the art students, needed some quantifiable information in order to sell internally their concept. I mean, for example, I've had artists work for me, and they have ideas, and then they get frustrated when we don't apply those immediately. And the reason for that is that they don't justify their ideas. And I think the students learn that discipline in this course, that yes, I have a great idea, but why is it a great idea beyond my head? It is a great idea for business, and here's why, and here are some statistics that I discovered. And the art students were doing that to the same extent that the business students were. That was one of, again, the amazing transitions that we saw when these two groups were working together.
I think also something we saw was that the students in the beginning really saw themselves in their separate camps, and as the course progressed, they began to appreciate what each brought to the table. And so we saw a different, deference to their expertise and bringing in the different expertise as they were presenting ideas. Some of the ideas that they presented, which were very fascinating, were the idea of how do you take these caulking tubes and make them so that they're attractive in a place like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. And they designed display racks where the tubes rolled out almost like cans, like soda cans, so that they always stay neat, they always look neat, rather than cans falling over out of cartons that are the typical way you see them in the store.
I know you've done really well to see a serious DIYer. I'd love to hear about kind of what you guys are doing currently, what we could, what you're looking for, I guess what nut you haven't cracked, what we can kind of help you kind of dive deeper into. This is just totally from outside point of view, and I like coming to you as an actual client. We can bounce these ideas off. We still have another 4 or 5 weeks to hammer them home.
There is difficulty in shopping the caulk product because there are 3 to 6 different brands on the shelf that kind of look the same, kind of look different, whatever. And there's a difficulty in merchandising the product because if you look at it, you only have 2 inches by 10 inches to speak to anybody about it. It's not like a 5-gallon bucket of paint or a 1 gallon, where you have this by this, you got this by that is your space. So trying to communicate off that, between the, requirements by government and dual language and whatever. I mean, it all gets kind of eaten up, you know, on the front, let alone what goes on.
One of the most dynamic experiences that I had through this collaborative process was seeing how the client really grasped this idea of what they could get from this educational experience that they couldn't get either from their internal teams, or B, that they couldn't buy in from industry. Because what's different about working with an educational model and dealing with students is that they're still open and pliable and creative, and they don't have the sort of barriers that industry sometimes can sort of be restrictive and hardwire them to think in a particular way. So when we say about let's think outside the box, that's sort of like a cliche that's sort of like spun around a lot. I really think that the client gets ideas from young, innovative and energetic people applied to energetic business models that they would not get anywhere else. And I think the client DAP specifically by week 16 got a series of products that they had not even considered. And I think this is an aspect that it's a win-win situation for education, for students, for instructors and for clients.